Hello everybody, what is up? Cobra here with my next installment in the Global War 2025 Meltdown Customized Pieces and Armies. Here we have the Chinese, the premier power of this game. Definitely the second biggest economy and the main combatant when it comes to funding and assisting as well as making gains by the hand of the Eastern Pact. China, of course, has a huge grasp and a huge threat against all of the Pacific kind of holdings of the Pacific Coalition and the Western United States, and also has the ability to help out their faction mates by being in close proximity to the Caliphate, allowing them to lend air support and sometimes even some airlifted infantry battalions to help defend their territories, as well as a land border with Russia, allowing them to send stuff like tanks over to help out the Russian offensives in Europe and the Caucasus. So here we have the Chinese, and of course, like most of my factions, I've replaced all of their infantry with 172 units. Some of their infantry, though, are the modern infantry that you can buy from HBG in their randomized packs. I think it's a pretty good price, around $5 for 20 of them, and I threw a lot of them into my airbornes for China and the Pacific Coalition. Now, the Chinese, kind of like the Russians, have multiple kind of areas that they have either conquered or, in this game's case, aligned. So one of the bigger ones is North Korea, and while the Korean frontier is just, North Korea and South Korea, it poses a major front in the war because it's strategically important because they both maintain victory cities, and also North Korea maintains a small stockpile of China's nuclear capabilities. So, and also a huge land army too, made up of a lot of infantry as well as a fighter and a tank. So to kind of delineate that, I have different sculpts that can be used. So you can see with most of the Chinese forces here, we've got these kind of modernized infantry. Here's the stock infantry. Here's some more of those HBG modern soldiers that are the kind of randomized guys. But then we also have some more 60s era Chinese soldiers. And these guys make good stuff like North Koreans, and also the Chinese kind of having either conquered or aligned the territories of Vietnam, Laos, and Burma. They make good kind of more, I guess, less technologically sophisticated, or even just conscripts. I like using these guys when I maybe pump out a bunch of Chinese infantry, kind of thinking of them as conscript soldiers with a lack of modern equipment. So for army units, of course, the Chinese, being the premier power, get the I guess the favor when it came to printing all of these pieces, because the Chinese share sculpts with the Russians. So the Russians kind of got the short end of the stick, whereas the Chinese got all their equipment shown. So here we've got the Chinese MBT. Nothing done with that except for, of course, painting like everything else. But here we have the M1 Abrams from HBG, and I've thrown in one of them here for the Chinese. And actually, now that I think about it, I did forget about another Chinese unit somewhere in my China box, and let me just grab that. We have another one of the BT light tanks that the Russians had, and basically the reason I threw in these couple was that the M1 Abrams is actually supposed to represent the Model 2020 of the North Korean army. So this is the tank that starts in North Korea. And basically, I like having that tank in North Korea because it does kind of show that, say this guy ends up getting like sent to America, you kind of can see like, oh, it's the North Koreans, like you've dumped them off in America for, some kind of little gain or conquest. And the light tank is supposed to delineate the kind of more Southeast Asia forces. So if you build a tank down in Vietnam or something, this tank kind of represents those, like I said before, more ill-equipped or lightly armed militaries. So it still represents a tank, but of course is just a different variant of a tank. Of course, in the back we have the Chinese nuclear missile silo. China only has one territory that maintains their whole entire ICBM stockpile, so definitely something they want to defend. In the back, we have their Air Force. No changes came for their fighter jet or their helicopter, except for this small addition of I think it's a American Sabre fighter, something like that, from the 60s. Basically, I threw this in to represent the North Korean fighter jet that starts the game in North Korea. And like I said, I think it's an American jet, but I like to think of it as some kind of, sorry about the focus, some kind of North Korean out-of-date fighter jet that maybe they've gotten from the Soviets or something like that before. Off to the side, we've got the Chinese stock fleet that comes with the game. Their big carrier and LHD, along with their missile destroyer, submarine, and frigate. Like I said, all stock units, nothing changed there. And like with the Russians, I've gone with the kind of standard Eastern Pact submarine by having this big nuclear submarine from HBG glued to the ballistic submarine tile, so you can easily tell what unit that is. But other than that, that is the Chinese forces, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this quick little look. If you're not already subscribed, I definitely suggest you do that. Leave a comment down below on other videos you might like to see or ideas, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the next installment of this series, where we will likely be reviewing the Caliphate faction, one of my favorites of this entire game. Hope to see you guys again. Cobra, out.